everybody, and welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Elite. Tonight, we are doing our weekly review of everything pro wrestling in the week of pro wrestling, starting from Collision, going all the way until last night's Dynamite. So, thank you all for joining me here tonight. I'm running solo for right now until more people show up. Don't want to wait too long. Want to get it started, get you guys going on a little bit of your reviews. Drink a little H2O to get my voice going for the evening. Again, if you are joining us tonight, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Like I said, I'm running a little solo right now. People start jumping in. That's cool too. But we're going to do our weekly review. Decided wanted to kind of come back after last week. Wasn't here last week. Was out of town. Went bowling. Bowled pretty well. You guys asked me if any of you guys are bowlers. Let me know what your average is. Let me know what you average in a game. I think my high game last week was a 172. So not too bad for someone who averages a 118 every week at league. So not going to complain. So anyways, we're going to get started a little bit here. Again, if you guys are just joining, thank you guys for joining me tonight. We had an exciting week of pro wrestling, I think. A lot of good shows recently. We're going to get started from last week. We had a double feature of both AEW Collision and Battle of the Belts. So we started off the show with Orange Cassidy and John TV. Obviously, Orange Cassidy, OC, freshly squeezed. You know, he seems to be the go-to guy. He seems to be the one that, hey, let's start off the show with, with the freshly squeezed one and everything like that, see if we can get people pulled in. The crowd loves him. I mean, let's not deny that. The crowd is very, very behind Orange Cassidy. I mean, he is AEW royalty. You know, he has been there for a long time. So, yeah, of course they're going to get him first on the show for Collision. And I will tell you guys, Johnny TV has really impressed me. I enjoy his stuff. You know, I think for a veteran that he is, he really does show out, you know, and he really does his own thing. So I will say that Johnny TV has really impressed me a lot since coming over. He's been underutilized, but they have been using him in different roles. But I did enjoy the match. Wasn't a great match, but wasn't a bad match. Of course, you know, Taya getting involved, it's great. Willow Nightingale coming down to save him, so that's always exciting. You know, then we had the Blackpool Combat Club against, you know, Brian Cage, Lee Moriarty, and Top Flight. And this was a weird three-way tag team. Just feels like it was put together. Don't know how I feel about it. I'm always a big fan of Top Flight. I love their antics. I love their high flying. Of course, I've always been a fan of Claudio. I think him and Wheeler really work together. Oh, excuse me. But really think they need to go different direction with Blackpool Combat Club since, you know, Mox barely gets involved. So I don't know where they go with it. Some good back and forth. A lot of picture-in-picture during this match. And, of course, Blackpool Combat Club won. So it's always nice to see Claudio and Wheeler get a win. Like I said, I'm always a fan of Claudio. So we move on now to Lexi Nair with Willow and OC. And, you know, they tell, you know, they get a little background with the conglomeration, I guess is the name they're going with. So, which is the conglomeration. I don't know. But, you know, it's Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, and Ishii, basically Ishii. I can't ever say his first name. But, you know, they got that group going. Weird group, but I guess that happens. I guess was the debut of Hologram. And he wrestled against Mortos. And surprisingly, the fans were behind Mortos. I don't know how behind they were on Hologram. I mean, he was doing some good stuff. And it was a good match. I don't know how Mortos can see with that mask. It's a killer mask. Everything he wears. If you guys haven't checked out Mortos, please do. He's fantastic to watch. He's great entertainment. He's one of those guys like on the indies that like he's always part of PWG. He does a lot of that, so I highly recommend checking him out. He's really fun to watch. And then Hologram, I want to say is Aerostar, just going by Hologram now. Anyways, you know, he got the high flying going. He had some cool maneuvers. And so he ended up winning that one. Pretty fun. Then you had Thunder Rosa versus Maya World. No idea who Maya World was. She looked all right. Thunder Rosa, quick win on that. And then more feuding with Deonna Purrazzo. So that's still going. Then you had the Conglomeration versus Premier Athletes. Again, always enjoy watching Briscoe and O'Reilly kind of team up. Ishii is hit or miss. He's kind of a weird third wheel in that group right now. Don't know how I feel about it. So, but I do love the brotherhood and partnership of Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly. It's Mark Briscoe's got that like craziness to him, and it's kind of rubbing off on Kyle O'Reilly. So I kind of like it. Don't know how else to go about it other than I hope we see those two like more team. Because like I said, I love the fact I love the fact that this is a group, and that every time Mark gets hyped, Kyle gets hyped, and I love it. I love that Kyle's finally kind of, I want to say, finding his niche, teaming with Mark Briscoe. And like I said, I would love to see Mark Briscoe and Kyle O'Reilly as a tag team, like moving forward, just because I love their bouncing back and forth of, you know, Mark like, and then Kyle's like, you know, being that hype kind of guy. So thoroughly enjoy that team. Like I said, you're always going to get great stuff out of Premier Athletes. I mean, you had Daivari on there, but Josh Woods and Tony Nese, always great pro wrestlers. So you're never going to have any hit or misses with them. And then obviously, you know, the Conglomeration wins by submission. Kyle puts Wood in an armbar, gets the win. And, you know, Renee Paquette goes to interview Chris about his match with Suzuki. Talks about his broken finger, all that stuff. And so, again, Chris Jericho, I don't know how I feel about his current character. I know we talk about it on the daily here, about a hit or miss with Jericho. And I don't know, a lot of people say they change the channel when Jericho comes on, which, again, I can kind of see. The man has literally reached the pinnacle of his career and has done everything he can. Won almost every belt he can, covered every promotion he can. You know, it's almost like the time where maybe it is time for Chris to kind of hang it up, kind of be a mouthpiece for, you know, new groups, you know, like a Brian Keith and a Big Bill. You know, I think that would be good to have him do that. So I don't know. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that too. You know, leave a comment. You know, share your thoughts on social media about where your thought process is on this Chris Jericho thing of how we're feeling about his learning tree character. Is it not exciting? Is it just too much? Is it all right? This is his like last hurrah. So let's see how many more characters he can do. So I do want to get your thoughts on that. Quick squash match by Lance Archer. And then you had FTR come out and they wrestled the debut of MXM Collection, formerly known as Maximum Male Models, Mansoor and Mason Madden. Okay. They got a good ovation. Did. WWE kind of dropped the ball on them, especially someone like Mansoor. That guy's huge and actually should have been something in WWE. But again, good back and forth. I think they held their own, but of course, you give FTR the win. And so they show a little sign of respect. I don't know how I felt about that with the fingers. I don't know if you guys caught that. It was a little weird to me. I don't know, but I thought it was okay. It was a sign of respect, like, hey, welcome to AEW. So again, good tag match. You guys know I'm always a sucker for a tag match. So, and I love FTR, the best tag team in the world. Top guys out, all that stuff. So, then we get a preview for Blood and Guts. A review of Blood and Guts with the Acclaim. Basically saying that they're here. They love AEW. They'll do whatever they can. And then they talk about their tag title match they have with the EVPs. So then they name drop FTR. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that was thunder. Said if they were real wrestlers, been in the cage, and asked where they were, supposed to be defending a company they love. So fighting words from the Acclaim to FTR. So could we see the Acclaim get the titles back and feud with FTR for the titles? Don't know. I mean, that's something we got to keep our eyes on, obviously, and see where that develops, to see where, hey, maybe we do. Maybe we do see, FTR and the Acclaim feud over the tag titles. And then, finally, I believe the final match for Collision was Lio Rush and Pac. I want to say that. Always good to see Lio Rush back. I'm always impressed with Lio Rush. Love his stuff. I think he's a great pro wrestler. He gets a lot of grief for his size and just his attitude, but when the guy delivers, he delivers. So he's that lucha guy that isn't lucha, but he's a high flyer that can add a lot of ground stuff, and he's just very agile. He's like a younger Ricochet, but I don't know if they're the same age, but he's like a smaller version of Ricochet. But I've always loved Leo. I love that he was the mouthpiece for Bobby Lashley at some point too. So I do enjoy Lio Rush's ring technique. And again, if he was like a shorter, smaller Ricochet, that's what Lio Rush reminds me of, is a Ricochet. So, that they had that main event. Obviously, Pac picks up the win. He hits the brutalizer, and then Leo taps out. So, good match. Good way to end the night. Give Pac the win to end the night. It feels like Pac is going to be pretty much a staple for Collision going forward. So, Collision was good. Obviously, you move straight into Battle of the Belts. So they kind of like one into the other. And the first match you get is the Women's World Title Eliminator, which is Toni Storm and Taya Valkyrie. Obviously, Toni Storm's in that feud with Mariah May, and Taya, is just put in this feud just for Eliminator to earn maybe a future shot. Again, I'm glad they're utilizing Taya now, because they haven't been really utilizing her since she came into AEW. So very interested to see where they go with her, and what they do with her. So in the match, back and forth, good stuff. Taya talks, at the end there, pushes Toni to the limit, and then Toni gets up and hits Taya with the Storm Zero and gets the win. Storm after the match promotes her match with Mariah and basically says you're perfect. And Toni says May was all her dreams come to life. Says that May was better me than Toni was. Mariah made a mistake, and that's should not cut her own head off. And the crowd behind her. I love Timeless Toni Storm. Love this character. Never ceases to amaze me. I want to see this Timeless Toni Storm character continue, even after All In. Would love to see it continue. Again, we just have to see how that goes. And then again, we don't know what's going to happen for the title match. We get timeless Toni Storm against Mariah May. We don't know if they pull the trigger and put the belt on Mariah May. I mean, that would be shocking, obviously. So, I'm very excited to see what they do with it. And for the time being, we're gonna get a good match at All In between timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. So obviously Toni Storm wasn't gonna lose that match, so she changed the title. And then we go to Kip Sabian being interviewed. It's always good to see Kip Sabian back. Love seeing him. Nick Wayne, I guess, is going to be his feud, which is great. I mean, great start, and then you have Willow Nightingale versus Deonna Purrazzo for CMLL Women's Title Eliminator. Obviously, Willow Nightingale winning that title in a triple threat match at one of the CMLL shows. So again, what a year for Willow. Just winning the Owen Hart, then winning the TBS title, then losing TBS title, but then winning the CMLL Women's Title Eliminator. After last year winning the New Japan Pro Wrestling Women's Strong title. So what a year it's been for Willow Nightingale. I think she's got a good crowd behind her. I think the fans are behind her. She's going places, within AEW, and who knows? Maybe if she doesn't stay with AEW, we'll see where she goes. But it seems like she's fitting in with AEW and just really getting that crowd behind her. Obviously, always great to see Deonna on TV. I love Deonna Purrazzo being used right now. I love the story she's got going Thunder Rosa. I don't know how much longer they can go with it. They just had that Lumberjill match. So I don't know. You kind of got to sit and just see where that feud goes. Excuse me. But obviously, Willow win this one, after some outside distraction by Taya and Thunder and all that stuff. So, now we got the vacant Ring of Honor 6-man tag championship between the Undisputed Kingdom, Dustin Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs, the boys, Marshall and Ross, Kevin Von Erich's sons, who we're still trying to get interviewed on here. So we're hoping to get Kevin Von Erich's sons on here, which would be great. We did have Kevin on here, so if you haven't checked out that interview, please go check it out on our page. Really fun interview. Kevin's got a lot of good insights. He's a really smart guy. He's just great to talk to, really laid back. So the match was great. Probably one of the better trio matches I've seen. And honestly, it was great. It was great to see a lot of back and forth. There were some dirty tricks by, Undisputed Kingdom with, a cowbell and then trying to steal the win, but then out of nowhere, here comes, Kevin Von Erich, putting the claw on Tavern, and, Ross and Marshall drop in, then Dustin drops them with a discus lariat, and boom, Dustin wins it, and the crowd goes wild. Basically, the Von Erichs, in like their very first big title match in AEW with Dustin Rhodes, and they win titles. So getting the titles, the Ring of Honor 6 World Tag Team Championships on Dustin Rhodes, Marshall, and Ross, I think it was a good stuff. I think it was a good call. I think everybody knows that Dustin is on the end of the road for his career. I think it's great he goes out having some titles. I mean, is it great that it's the Ring of Honor World 6-man tag team? I mean, not really, but it's titles. It's a title that Dustin can say, hey, I won it, whether it was Ring of Honor or AEW. So, it went great. Streamers going off, celebration, Dustin, the Von Erichs, Christopher Daniels, everybody celebrating. A lot of reviews said it that not lots of people thought they were going to win. A lot of people were excited. A lot of people were happy to see it. They were very happy to watch, the Von Erichs kind of, win titles and just see Kevin with his boys winning the titles. and especially with Dustin, the boys winning it with Dustin Rhodes, I think was really cool. I think it was a really cool little nod, and honestly, I thought that was the right way to end Battle of the Belts. So Battle of Belts wasn't too bad. I will give Battle of the Belts and Collision. I'm going to put them all together. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It was good. Love the title wins. I honestly, again, some of the titles on Battle of the Belts just didn't feel like it needed to be there, and because they were just filler. And so, but again, I enjoyed the main event of Battle of the Belts. I enjoyed the the fact that Dustin and the boys won. Dustin and the Von Erichs. So again, I give it 7. So now we move to Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw. It was the Monday Night Raw before SummerSlam, and a lot of excitement. Obviously, opened up with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins coming out first. Basically, talking about being the special referee for the match with CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. And, you know, my favorite part was Michael Cole mentioning all the guest referees at a SummerSlam. You know, Hunter at 2011, Michaels in 97, and Jesse the Body Ventura in 99. So I love the fact that he brought up history because I'm a big history guy. So I love the fact that he brought up the history of special guest referees at SummerSlam matches. So that was really cool. Obviously, Rollins getting there talking, and then obviously CM Punk coming out. And then Drew McIntyre coming out, you know, fans being behind CM Punk. Everybody loves CM Punk, you know, and, you know, the one point of CM Punk gets out of the ring and saying he's not afraid, but he's just going to sit over here and just listen and kind of enjoy what he's doing right now, you know, but Rollins and, you know, Drew kind of bait him back in the ring. But, you know, there's some back and forth stuff. I think one of my favorite lines in that segment was Punk telling Rollins, I don't know how you're dressed as a referee, judging by how you dress now, how you're going to look as a referee. So, and then Punk calling Rollins a bootlicking office boy was great. Because, I mean, everybody knew Rollins is a big corporate guy for WWE. I mean, since he debuted with the Shield, he's been a guy, the WWE guy, one of them. So, but, you know, Drew and CM Punk back and forth. Great. Adding Rollins to it, obviously, you know, he's got, you know, some great stuff on the mic. But that whole segment just, it felt like it dragged. You know, we just wanted to get to the point and just get, you know, one last face off of Punk and McIntyre. And we got that with McIntyre actually holding the bracelet up after Punk saying, what do you got? Like, I got this. What do you got, Drew? And as he says that, you know, Drew hold the crowd up, you know, or hold the wristband up with Punk's wife and dog's name. So it was a decent segment, dragged on, you know, and then we get more Judgment Day stuff. I was done with it. I think I'm over a lot of the Judgment Day stuff, to be honest. Just because World Tag Team Champs Finn Balor and JD McDonough, like, they're tag champs, and what are we doing with them? You know, I know they're trying to build something to it, and, you know, Balor saying, I'll take care of Gunther tonight, and then, you know, obviously Priest saying, I'll deal with it later too, and, you know, a lot of stuff going on with Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea Ripley. Don't know what Carlito's doing in the group still. So, but then you have the tag team match between the Creed brothers and Otis and Tozawa. Obviously, it's great to see the Creed brothers actually be utilized with Chad Gable. I mean, we all kind of saw that as like a little sneak peek. I mean, with backstage footage of them talking in the background. So kind of knew it was coming. You know, and obviously the way that they, you know, beat Tozawa and Otis, you know, and obviously them beating them up after and Maxine like jumping on Gable's back. I half thought that Ivy Nile would come out and attack Maxine from behind, hence joining them, because she always came out with the Creed brothers, as their, person, with not valet, but as their, teammate and kind of supporter, as they were for her with NXT. So I kind of half tempted I was kind of half thought that after Maxine jumped on Chad and got off, that Ivy was going to come behind her and knock her down, reveal herself. But we didn't get that. We got the Wyatt Six coming out, and it's great. I love everything. If you guys know, I actually got my shirt back there. I got my Wyatt Six shirt. I love the Wyatt Six right now. I think they're a great group right now. I think what they're doing with them is great. But they have the three come out, Rambling Rabbit, Husky the Pig, and, Buzzy the Buzzard, all their characters. And they finally unmask. And you get to finally see Eric Rowan, Dexter Lumis, and Joe Gacy. And so I thought that was great. And then out of nowhere, Sister Abigail, a.k.a. Nikki Cross, top rope, onto Gable and removes her mask. I thought it was brilliant. And the way they beat up the Creed brothers while Gable ran, and just Rowan kind of like double cross body checked the boys. And it was awesome. And Gable's backing up, and then boom, there's Uncle Howdy's silhouette. So I do love what they're doing with the Wyatt Six. I'm kind of thrilled that they're doing a 6-man tag next week on Raw and not at the pay-per-view, because you don't want to overfill a pay-per-view. But also you got to think ratings too, right? You got to think ratings is going to help with TV. So why not put the match on TV? Maybe if it goes a weird way, you could save it for the pay-per-view, because obviously they're talking about 2 nights of SummerSlam next year. So who knows? But, Gable runs away. And obviously I thought it was great. I know people have been complaining about the way Dexter Lumis looks. I've been reading a lot of online comments about their looks and their aesthetics. A lot of people aren't happy with, Dexter Lumis, considering he also had like a little segment on Raw of his video. And he finally talked. Granted, he only said run, but he talked and he had a lot of emotions. Like, I love the fact that a guy can tell a story with just his eyes. So I do love it. I love the fact that the Wyatt Six are finally getting a match. I love that it's Chad Gable and the Creed brothers. Obviously this is a feud that we'd like to see continue, obviously, after Monday. And that's the thing. What's your predictions for that 6-man tag? I mean, do you think they let the Wyatt Six lose their first match on Raw? I don't think so. I think the Wyatt Six wins. I think they get in the ring. Maybe we get a surprise Alexa Bliss return. Don't know what her status is. Maybe she's back. Maybe she's the 6th one. So maybe we see that. So, after that, we're back to the Judgment Day Clubhouse. Skip that part. Then you get a rematch of Sheamus and Big Bronson Reed. So, again, I don't know what's going on with that feud, but then Pete Dunne. So I don't know if they're setting up a Pete Dunne Sheamus match for SummerSlam. But yeah, no, it's an interesting feud. Glad Sheamus is back. Always been a big Sheamus fan, And then we talked about last week of the previous week of Raw with Gunther and Priest and him calling him street trash. Very reminiscent of the promo Hunter cut on Booker T before their match, I think at WrestleMania 19. So, and we get Damian Priest in a video, pretty much hyping it up. And so I love the line at the end saying, welcome to my neighborhood, General. I love that. I thought it was great. Then you had, previews for SummerSlam, obviously happening this weekend. And then, interviews with CM Punk and Damian Priest. And then Braun Breaker appears. I like this feud with Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. I'm glad that they're giving it another go. And I really do hope they put the belt on Braun. More on that in a little bit. But, we get to Jey Uso and Carlito wrestling. Obviously, the Yeet is hot right now. He picks up the win, everything like that. So not surprised at the win. And then, their backstage interview with Selena Vega, and then she gets, beat up by Sonya, Shayna, and Zoe, this new triple team, and then, they're checking on her, and, Carter, Chance, and Valkyrie show up, check on her. They got that little thing, and then it's announced Miz is hosting SummerSlam. Obviously, being in Cleveland, it's his place, all that stuff. But you get a nice little back and forth with him and R-Truth. And always great between those two, R-Truth and The Miz, the little back and forth. So, but yes, they make Miz the host. I don't know how I feel. I don't know if it's because Miz is always needing break from the ring. He's so underrated. This is a man who was a 2-time WWE champion, almost a 7 or 8-time Intercontinental champion, a United States champion, Money in the Bank. The guy's done a lot except win a Royal Rumble, but now they're getting him, in his comedy bits, when he's so talented. Then you get Xavier Woods carrying Kross. This feud continues. Another win for Karrion Kross, obviously, from after getting distractions from Razor and all, and, Authors of Pain. So it just, I don't know what they're building. I don't know if they're building towards Xavier Woods ultimately breaking up a New Day. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see where they go with Kofi Kingston and Xavier. Because with Big E out of the picture, and they want to continue New Day, each one has gotten hurt so much that, I don't know, maybe it's time to go solo with those guys. I don't know. And then you had another interview with Sami Zayn about his match with Braun Breaker. So more back and forth stuff. Liv Morgan gives a promo about everything. I don't know how I feel about that. Morgan still talk about the Liv Morgan revenge tour, beating Rhea Ripley, taking everything from her. I don't know where they go with this. I really don't. Honestly, they can go either way. And so, I wouldn't be shocked if Liv retains because Dominic costs her, or someone like a Finn Balor might cost Rhea, and that can get more disconnection between the Judgment Day. And then the main event, you get Dirty Dom and Sami Zayn. It's a 9-title match. It was a good back and forth. Zayn looking like he's about to win. Then, of course, Carlito and Madonna. Judgment Day comes out, gives Zayn the win, disqualification. Then you get Jey Uso running down for the save. And then out of nowhere, Braun Breaker. And then, he hits Breaker with the hell of a kick. And awkwardly goes over the top rope. So, but the way that ended, I have a feeling Braun might win the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam, which is good. Someone like him who's held the NXT title like twice, I believe. I think he's ready for a main event, a main roster title. Even if it's the Intercontinental title, there's big things planned for him. The fact that he eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Royal Rumble. The guy is future for WWE. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they put the Intercontinental title on him. So, and then again, we move to the video. And then he says, here's your 6-man match next week. All that stuff. And then you had the women's six tag match, women's 6 match, with Valkyrie, Chance, Carter versus DeVille, Baszler, and Stark. Obviously, they win, but then you get Damage Control coming back out and getting their revenge on those 3. So it looks like we're on our course for those 6 women to collide. Don't know when. So, also just see where this feud goes. So then you had a promo with Gunther in an empty arena, which is great. I love Gunther. I love the character. I love, let's not kid ourselves. It's Walter. So love what Walter does. And so, I'm very excited. I'm actually really excited to see what they do with this World Heavyweight Championship match with Gunther and Damian Priest. I mean, I like both of them because if you look at their earlier work, they both came up very differently. Like, just not differently, but just how they looked. Like, they were a little heavier set, but, now they've both lost weight. So now they're great in the ring. They're more agile in the ring. I mean, we go back to that Backlash match that Damian Priest had with Bad Bunny, even though it was with a celebrity musician. Still a great match, and Damian Priest put that guy over the moon, made him look like $1 million. And obviously, Gunther is just great. I mean, I loved him as Walter, but now see him as Gunther, the ring general, aka King of the Ring. Do we see them pull the trigger and give him the title at SummerSlam, or do we see, Damian Priest overcome the odds and maybe Gunther gets his revenge some other way? Maybe he wins the Rumble. Maybe they're gearing Gunther up to win the Rumble and have him finally challenge for the world title at, World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania. That would be huge too. So they can go either way. I think Damian Priest has been a good champion so far. I honestly think I want to see him run a little longer with it, see what he does with it. So that was a good promo in the empty arena, and, you do the interview with Damage Control, did that. Then the clubhouse, all that stuff. And your main event was Gunther versus Finn Balor. It was great. Just watching Finn Balor trying to chop Gunther and Gunther just going, nope, whack. Gunther's slap. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. Gunther he's got some mean chops, man. He's just great in the ring. It is always great to watch Gunther wrestle. Walter. I'm going to call him Walter. But I don't know. I'm still iffy on the name Gunther. I'm calling him Walter because he's Walter to me. So it was a good back and forth. Obviously, you get, him just beating the hell out of Balor. And he puts the sleeper hold on him. Balor's going down. Boom, he's out. And the ref calls it. So, I mean, Gunther getting the win there. And then putting the sleeper back on, and then Priest running down, kind of them fighting to end the show. So I'm glad that Raw this week actually ended with the champion and his challenger kind of ending the show. Because we've always had some different other endings to Raw that had nothing to do with the world title. And the world title is supposed to be the main title on Raw. So the fact that the show ended with the champ and his challenger just brawling is great. I enjoyed that. I'm glad that they were putting focus on that. And so I'm glad they opened with that promo and that little in-ring segment with Drew, CM Punk, and Rollins. And then they ended it with your world champion and his challenger, Gunther, fighting. So Raw was great. Again, I'm never going to get tired of the Wyatt Six. I thought it was great. I love these characters. And so honestly really excited to see where they go with it. So I'm actually going to give Raw an 8.5. Raw was really good. So I'm very excited to see where they go with everything. So I don't know. Let me get your guys' thoughts. What do you guys thought of Raw? What do you guys think of Collision Battle Belt so far? Let me know your thoughts. Then we moved to Tuesday, NXT. NXT had their first night of the Great American Bash, where titles were on the line. Some matches were announced for week 2. So, we go with that. So, you opened up the show with Hank and Tank at the Performance Center, all that stuff. And then, they open up the show, and it opens up with the Tag Team Championship for the women. The Unholy Union versus Meta-Four. Decent match. Always love. I love Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I love the Unholy Union. I think they're a great team. I don't know how I still feel about their names individually, but the tag team name is awesome. So, obviously, there was a good back and forth between them and the Meta-Four group of Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. All very talented women, all very athletic women. And obviously, you get Unholy Union retaining. Obviously, they're setting up the feud between them, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for a title, retitle. So very excited to see where they go with that. I want to get your guys' thoughts. What do you think? Do you think they put the titles back on Bianca and Jade, or do the unholy union retain and cause a rift between Bianca and Jade, and you guys want to see those two go at it? I want to know your guys' thoughts on that, and where they go with the women's tag titles, because it just feels like they've been bouncing back and forth with the women's tag titles. So always interested in see where people's thoughts on that. Ethan Page comes out. He kind of, goes hard on the metaphor and all that stuff. So, and then, we get Cedric Alexander and Shawn Spears backstage. We get a lot of backstage stuff. I won't touch too much on backstage stuff in NXT. Obviously, there's some back and forth, all that stuff. Oh, I'm getting background sound. My bad, folks. But after that, we move into the next match. After we get a Pete Dunne promo, because Pete Dunne talking about, challenging Trick Williams to a match, I believe. We move on to the Heritage Cup Championship. Tony D'Angelo putting it on the cup against Tavion Heights with the Quarter Catch Crew. If nobody knows what the Heritage Cup matches are like, they do rounds. So it's like a round, kind of like points around. So there's like 5 rounds, maybe even more, and they do like a best of this. Obviously Tony retains, doing 2-1 and all that stuff. Then you get Brooks Jensen versus Cedric Alexander. Shawn Spears comes out with Brooks Jensen. They're now making Shawn Spears a kind of a manager type, which I don't know how I feel, but I guess we'll see where it goes. So, what are your guys' thoughts on Shawn Spears being a manager type? The guy's still a wrestler to me. He's one of the better Canadian wrestlers right now, and he's so underutilized. Obviously, Cedric Alexander wins the match, good back and forth. Then you get Joe Hendry. Say his name and he appears. I don't know if that's how it goes, but you say his name, he appears. And so he comes out, does his little concert thing, talks about being from Scotland, representing TNA, all this stuff. Talks about Joe Coffey from Gallus, and basically says if you hate Gallus, wave your hands in the air. They got deported for having horrible hair. That's what he said. I thought it was great. Obviously, Gallus comes out. Mostly Joe Coffey comes out and kind of, they go off on each other. And basically, they are scheduled for a match next week for night 2 of Great American Bash. And after Gallus beats up Hendry. So next you get the contract signing of Ethan Page and Oro Mensah for their title match next week on night 2. Some good back and forth on the mic. And so I'm very excited to see Ethan Page defend his title more. I'd like to see him hold that title for a little longer. I've always been a fan of Ethan Page. Just to see where he goes is very exciting. So always pumped to see him on the TV. I'm glad he's doing so much better. I'm not saying that he, AEW, is bad, but I'm just saying they really didn't utilize Ethan Page the way they should have. So, and I feel like NXT and WWE is doing that. And so I kind of enjoy what they're doing with Ethan Page. Yeah, why do I keep getting sorry guys. I keep getting background sounds. I'm trying not to do that so I don't get hit with whatever, but I keep getting ads. So we continue on. Obviously, after the signing, we move on to our next bout, which is let me get my card here. All right, Well, we also had Jada Parker versus Kendall Gray. Didn't really care for that match much. Then you had Fallon Henley, Jace Jan, Jasmine Nix versus Lola Vice, Sol Rocca, and Carmen Petrovic. Again, good 6-woman tag match. Again, more talented women, getting utilized on the show. Good back and forth, obviously. Henley, Jace, and Nix get the win. Then you had the backstage segment of Tatum Paxley basically having her eyes on Kaylani's, women's North American title. And so I don't know how I feel about the women's North American title. I understand it's another title to help the women on the card to kind of, give them more showing. But again, I just feel like it's a filler title. And I feel like too many titles is too much. And so I'm glad they're giving all these young women a chance. But again, so many titles, a big roster. So I like that they're doing that, but I just still feel like it's too much. And then we get the main event of last night, which is, well, not last night, but of Great American Bash, and that's the women's NXT women's title. The Prodigy, Roxanne Perez, versus Thea Hale of Chase U. If you guys know Jason on this show, he said Hale is really grown. He's grown to like Hale. I agree with him. I think we've always liked Roxanne Perez. I think we all agree that she's very talented. She had some banger of matches this year so far with Valkyrie, Thea Hale on Tuesday. You had Jordan Grace. She's had great matches. Sol Rocca, Chelsea Green. So I mean that she's had a lot of good matches, and so her match last night was great too with Thea Hale, and Thea Hale really impressed me last night. Obviously, some back and forth. But then, Perez locks her in the crossface, rolls her back to center, releases the hold, then hits Pop Rocks, and obviously Roxanne Perez takes the title. So the big question is who unseats Roxanne Perez as women's champion on NXT. I think that's the big question we're going to have. Is who will take the title off of her. Roxanne Perez has been so good. She's had lots of great matches. I'm very impressed by her. I mean, I've always liked her since she debuted, since she was in, I want to say TNA, but I've always been impressed by Roxanne Perez. So NXT Night 1 of Great American Bash, pretty decent. I will give that, I'll put it in the middle of Collision, Battle Belts, and Raw, and I'll put it at like a 7.8. So NXT, always good, always fun to watch. Then we get to the big show on Wednesday, the AEW Dynamite show coming off of Blood and Guts. The week after Blood and Guts, we come to this. Obviously, we open with MJF, one of the best heels in the business right now. Him opening the show, basically making fun of South Carolina, talk about Ospreay and him at All In, and then obviously we have a great opening match and some history between Will Ospreay and Lance Archer. There's some good back and forth. I love Ospreay. I love Lance Archer. I love the fact that they put this match on TV. I loved it. And then, he gets the win, and obviously, Ospreay gets a win with the hidden blade right in the jaw of Archer. Awesome stuff. And then you get the MJF hitting the brain buster and trying to beat him up. But then you get Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher, of all people, shows up to save. Obviously they're friends from, their group. And Don Callis, as thing, he goes, basically saying me and Ospreay are friends. And you told me not to get involved, but I'm pissed. I hate MJF. And he says, America's given him a lot of dreams. He said, he's given me my girl, place to live, place to work. For anybody who doesn't know, Sky Blue and Kyle Fletcher are a thing. So, yeah, he's kind of right. Coming to America to wrestle, and he even says we're the best wrestle. And so, his promo, I think, was some of the best things Kyle Fletcher has said. And saying he wants to wrestle MJF, and MJF, just told him not tonight, next week. So we get a Kyle Fletcher and MJF match next week. some good heat from MJF. Always good heat. Even though fans are still cheering him, he gets heat. Ospreay tripped over words, but that's fine. Language barrier, but I still love him. Archer always has some great moves, especially mixing in with high flyers. So really good match. Then you get the CMLL, another eliminator match with Willow, and this time the third match between her and Chris Statlander. So, but you get Chris Jericho celebrating 102 days as FTW champion. But then you have Nightingale and Statlander go at it. I will say this. This was one of the better matches that Statlander and Willow has had. And that's saying a lot. Obviously, there was some good back and forth. There was some good offense. There was really good power moves. There was some great moves on the apron. Obviously, Chris hitting that 450 splash and getting that 2.99 count. Chef's kiss. Great stuff. And then, of course, Hathaway giving her the chain to bam, right at Willow Nightingale. And so, and then you get Chris Statlander actually winning an eliminator match. You had a winner of an eliminator match. It has been so long since you saw someone win an eliminator match. So it's really cool to see that. Again, this goes back to Nightingale. She's been working. She's a workhorse. What a year she's had. Being the New Japan Strong Open Women's Champion, whatever that title is, to Owen Hart Women's Champion, to TBS Champion, to now the CMLL Women's Champion. She's got a lot of speed. She's great. Statlander's got a great lariat. I'm not going to lie to you guys. She's got a great clothesline. And then Willow's powerbomb counter to the dropkick, fantastic. Another chef's kiss. So hats off to both women. I want to see where that last match goes. Obviously, Willow still has a 2-1 advantage on Chris. I wouldn't be surprised if they put that CMLL title on Chris Statlander. I mean, I can see it. She's a workhorse, and I think she deserves. I don't think her TBS title run was great. It was a hit or miss, and I think she deserved better. So I'd like to see what she does with the CMLL. I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that with Chris Statlander being a CMLL Women's Champ. And then we get to a weird trios match, if you ask me. You got the Conglomeration, again, weird name, versus Rouge Beast, Mortos, and Roderick Strong. Again, another weird team. And again, how does the Beast Mortos see out that match? It's got to be hard to do it. But first, we had a promo by Bryan Danielson. Great promo. Just saying he's, done everything he can, realizes his dream, says his time in AEW has been the most fun he's had in his career. He also said his contract ends tomorrow, but he plans to be at All In and give it his best. Swerve Strickland comes out and does great. He says, look, dude, he's like, I'm either going to end your career or I'm just going to do this. And he gives respect to Danielson. He says he roots for him. And then Danielson just drops the bomb and says, listen, if I don't win the title at All In, I will never wrestle again. So now you got more excitement for that title match between Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. So now you add a little spice to it, because obviously Danielson says my contract's over. And basically saying, hey, I'm going to just put it out on the line. Now, realistically, do we think his contract's up? I don't think so. I think he's got till almost the end of the year. But is his in-ring competition almost done? Probably. But I love this added layer of it. Because now you're saying, oh, crap. They may put the title on Bryan Danielson. They may. Just to give him one last hurrah. Think of it as what they did with Sting. Sting obviously didn't want to win the tag titles, but they made him win them anyways. And he said he didn't want to retain the titles. He wanted to lose the titles to the Young Bucks. But he kept the title anyways and retired a tag champ. So who's to say they don't go that same route with Bryan Danielson? Where Bryan's like, look, no. Don't want the title. Swerve's doing fine. Let's have him have the title. But they're like, no, dude. You win the title, Bryan. Okay? Win the title. Next Wednesday on Dynamite after All In, you retire as the champ. would that be a fair book ending, or would people just groan at it? People like, oh, come on. At least let him defend the title at All Out. Maybe a rematch with Swerve at All Out. Or maybe none of this happens. Maybe Swerve retains. And Bryan Danielson gets his last bow at All in front of a big crowd at Wembley Stadium. I feel like that's the right route to go. I feel the right route to go is have Swerve finally beat Danielson to prove he's one of the best in the world. Because there's nobody like Bryan Danielson. There's only one Bryan Danielson. And just to have him lose to Swerve and say, dude, shake your hand. You're better than me. I'm done wrestling. If I can't beat you, I don't want to do this anymore. So it adds that layer. So I feel like that's the route we're going to go. I feel like Swerve's going to win. He'll do what he did at Will Ospreay. Pat his head and just finish him off. Win it. Give Danielson his life in the limelight one more time at All In and just let him soak it all in. I think that's where you go. But then we move on to the trios title, or trios match. Again, nothing to write home about. I don't think it was great. I don't think it was the best trios match. Mortos, again, very interesting character. They should give him some time on promos, but also, how does he see with that mask? And it's got to be hot in there. But the other part, Cassidy obviously using his jacket like a Toro. Rush and Ishii had a great exchange. I loved it. But yeah, nothing to write home about. Then you get Camille finally getting her in-ring debut. But, I mean, you get an awesome promo by Mariah May and Toni Storm in back-to-back segments. Holy cow. That match at All In between those two women, I can't say enough how much I love Timeless Toni Storm. I really can't. And so, very excited to see where they go with this title match at All In. I mean, do we see Toni Storm lose that title to Mariah May? We may. But how exciting would it be? We just saw Britt Baker return at Forbidden Door. Who would be next in the women's division to come back? I think Jamie Hayter. I think Jamie Hayter comes back at All In after Mariah May beats up Toni Storm, because remember, it was Toni Storm who beat Mariah May to win that title in the first place. And so, well, not in the first place, but, you know, they had that feud, Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter. But who to say Timeless Toni Storm, they meant Jamie Hayter, because Jamie and Toni had that great feud they had. You know, think about it. You know, Toni's the one that kind of put Jamie on the shelf, but redeemed herself by saving the woman who injured her. You know, so I think that may be the route they go. So, but nah, we go on to a squash match of Camilla. She just destroys the person. Mercedes basically having Camille raise her hand after the match instead of the other way around was pretty funny, and it was very heelish. And I feel like the crowd was out of it by this point. So, but good stuff, good setup for All In for, you know, Britt and Mercedes. I think this match has been in the making for a while. I mean, ever since Sasha and Britt were wrestling for their separate promotions a while ago, when AEW showed up and Britt was wrestling there, and, you know, Mercedes was at, you know, Sasha over at WWE. I think that was the one match people were like, dream match. Sasha and Britt Baker, and now we're getting it. So, I don't know. We'll see how that match goes, and Britt looks in great shape. How Camille plays into this, do not know. Then we get our main event, Adam Page and Darby Allin. Again, interesting main event for a Dynamite. There was some good back and forth. Obviously, Page just dominating Allin, being a bigger guy than him also, because, you know, Allin just being such a small guy. There's some cool spots. I will say the suicide dive on the Page off the stairs on the outside was awesome. The coffin drop from on the stage was pretty cool. It was a good physical match. Obviously, Page just boom, boom, beating him up. You know, and he's about to go the buckshot lariat, and then, you know, Allin falls, and then Allin just out of nowhere rolls Hangman up and pins him. Not the best finish to a main event match on Dynamite, but I digress. It's an Allin win. It gives Page more hate and heelish tendencies because he lost in the dumbest way and he stays angry, which is great. You need that heelish kind of energy from Adam Page. So I thought it was great. But there was a weird moment. Tony and Taz kind of got into it on the commentary, not in a bad way, but just like talking over each other and almost seemed like they were argumentative somehow. But that was weird too. But again, the Allen doing the coffin drop. But I think Allen needs to slow down a little bit. And obviously he's getting a little more reckless, and I think he needs to tone it down. Otherwise, that guy's going to die young, and he needs to slow down. But obviously it was a good show. Again, not the best Dynamite, but a good Dynamite. So I will give Dynamite. I'll put it on par with Collision Battle of the Belts. I'll put it almost at a 7. I'll give it a 6.9, 6.8, 6.9, almost a 7. So it was good. I always enjoy Ospreay. I always enjoy MJF. So how would you guys rank all these shows this week? From Collision Battle of the Belts all the way to Dynamite last night. And actually, let me give you guys my final review of the week. There's a lot of good stuff. Obviously, we're gearing up for SummerSlam. After SummerSlam, we got All In. So we got 2 big pay-per-views coming back to back, and then obviously All Out. So big pay-per-views. So very excited to see where they go with everything. So we'll have to sit and watch and all that stuff. For me, this is a rarity because I never get this out for best show this week. But I'm going to say Raw. Minus all the Judgment Day stuff, Raw was pretty decent. It's a good build towards SummerSlam. They really built up well, even though it was an awkward build between CM Punk and McIntyre with Seth Rollins in the middle. And then obviously ending the show with a focus on the world title. So a close second would probably be Battle of the Belts just because of Dustin and the Von Erichs. So that would be my review of that. So obviously, I mean, wish we can have more exciting wrestling, but I mean, I digress. It was a good week of wrestling. Again, we're gearing up towards the All In and SummerSlam, and I'm very excited to see where they go with it. I really am. So as we're running down here, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. It was a one-man show tonight. I hope I gave you guys a great show. I try. If not, I apologize for not doing the best, So, but I just want to say thank you guys for joining me tonight. Even if you didn't comment and you just sat and watched, or if you watch this later, again, I thank you guys for joining me tonight. Let me kind of give you guys reviews of the shows this week and basically break down all the shows and my thoughts on it. You don't rarely see a one-person show on Talking Elite or a All Elite Zone. I feel like I did okay. If not, you guys can let me know. I apologize. But again, thank you guys. Make sure you guys join us here every Thursday. Hopefully every Thursday. Maybe something different. I got to talk to Connor about it. I love Connor, so maybe he can work with me here. Always join us on Tuesdays for our All Elite Zone Canada show with Matt. Matt does a great job. Make sure you guys catch this week's episode. Wednesdays, we always do our live reaction at Dynamite. And then tonight, we, Talking Elite. And then, Saturday, sometimes Collisions, or weekends, we usually do pay-per-views. We don't know. Friday Night SmackDown. Make sure you check out that sister channel, the Wide World of Wrestling, or whatever it's called, that Connor has on here. Make sure you guys check that out. There's some good stuff on there. And if there's nothing else, you guys, I thank you guys again. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, family, colleagues. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Spotify. So we're everywhere. We have great interviews. Make sure you guys catch those out. And we'll keep you guys updated on interviews. We got some good ones coming up. So again, thank you guys for joining me tonight on a one-man show of Talking Elite. Love every single one of you guys. We always make the world a better place by being good pro wrestling fans. So always keep that in mind. And As always, to you guys,